Hey guys, welcome to Punky's Pro Wrestling. Okay, this is the review of the Hall of Fame ceremony. Oh my gosh. If I've got mascara all over my face, it's because I've been crying. This is a very emotional ceremony. Lex Luger was inducted by DDP. Lex Luger found the Lord on April 24th, 2006. He was so humble in his speech, and he was able to stand at the podium, which is amazing. Then, I like how they did the legacy inductions this year. They did them as shorter but regular inductions. Kamala, James Harris, and his wife there. Then Michelle McCool. Her video package was fabulous. All of the video packages were fabulous. Was inducted by her husband, Mark Calloway, aka The Undertaker. He said he was there as Mark, a husband and a father, not as Undertaker. His induction was tear-jerking. Like I said, if I have mascara along my eyes, that's why. Because I don't know whether this stuff was waterproof or not. And she's beyond classy. She's a devout Christian. She has kidney and liver disease and has been battling it for 25 years. She spoke about the fact that this was happening on Good Friday, and of course the meaning of Good Friday. Then they did Dory Funk Sr. Dory Funk Jr. was there. He had to be helped to stand because he's old. I think he's in his 80s. They did a video package on Triple H from a sports magazine, I think. Excuse me. Then they inducted the natural disasters. And their video package talked about their size and them being very athletic for their size. And John's whole family was there, even his grandson. And John Tenta, Earthquake. He was described by his son as a warm, gentle giant. His daughter is training to wrestle. She wants to follow in her father's footsteps. John and Fred Ottman, Typhoon, were very close outside of the ring. John's kids were so incredible. And this one was a little more emotional for me because I had the good fortune to be on John Tenta's message board. He had his own section over at WrestleCrap, and he talked to us, wrote to us on that board up until he died. We were, we got to be there sort of in real time. So for me, it was a little more emotional having been there in real time. You know, it's the first. I think he's the first wrestler well, no, I can't say that because the first wrestler I developed any kind of a relationship with was Stevie Richards. Stevie had his own place on AOL back when AOL was an actual thing. Where it had message boards and stuff. Well, he had his own place on there, and he talked to all of us just like we were regular, his equals. And so he was the first wrestler I developed a friendship with, and I would say John Tento was probably the second. The immortal moment, Bret Hart and Steve Austin. It was nice in that they sort of shattered the remains of kayfabe by bringing them both out there, talking about their match, talking about working a program without using those words, but you know what I mean. CM Punk inducted the moment. And when CM Punk was on the stage, instead of putting CM Punk underneath him, they put Hall of Famer Bret, the Hitman Hart, underneath him, which was a hilarious blooper. Oopsie! Bret and Austin even shared a beer afterwards. Then they did Ivan Koloff, because and they talked about him becoming WWF champion after beating Bruno Sammartino, who had been champion for years, like 8 years, I think. And Ivan's wife was there. They called her Koloff, which I thought was kind of funny, because that wasn't his name. It's actually a Frenchman playing a Russian. And then they did Triple H. Triple H earned his place, his position in wrestling, and earned his place in the Hall of Fame, regardless of who he married, which obviously was real. It's been 22 years since they've been married. They've raised 3 kids that are practically grown. Well, one of them is grown. And I don't see, to me, he was one of the best to ever do it. And he had a mind for the business, was truly the definition of a student of the game, and deserves every accolade he's getting. Deserves to be working backstage regardless of who he married. Those are my opinions. He thanked a lot of people, obviously. Harley Race cared so much about him and his family that Harley picked out himself and bought a pair of earrings for their oldest daughter, Aurora, when she was born. Their middle daughter is a linebacker on the boys' football team. He said, I asked her, why do you want to play on the boys' team? And she said, to prove I can. He's like, okay. I actually had just read that their daughter was playing on the boys' team in high school. Gotta give her credit there. When you had 3 daughters, I bet you never thought you'd be going to their football game. Unless it was Powder Puff. Talked about his heart condition and how his sister had the same condition. He made Cody cry because he was talking about how Dusty was a mentor to him. Terry Taylor had a medical emergency earlier in the day, and he didn't think Terry was there. He looked around and said, "Holy cow, you're here!" You know. He was inducted on Good Friday, of course, his parents' 61st wedding anniversary. Terry Taylor and his family took him in WCW when he was alone in Georgia with nobody. It was a long way from New Hampshire. And Terry's wife was an amazing cook, and they fed him, and he became part of their family. And, of course, he talked about Killer Kowalski. He, like Frankie Kazarian, was trained by Killer, and all of Killer's students have just said wonderful things about him. How him and his wife took many students in, and he never worried about the money, you know. And Paul doesn't drink, smoke, do any drugs. And he told the story of kind of how the clique began. First ride with them. They're all drunk. And he said, Kid, meaning Sean Waltman, seemed okay. And he passed out in his strawberry milkshake. And him and Sean dragged him outside. It was quite a learning experience. Scott Hall is arguing with the waitress about the cook putting a booger in his eggs. Gross. And stuff like that. And just that same night. And they were calling the police. They had to leave. And he handled the Vince McMahon situation with such grace and dignity. He said, you know, he encouraged me to go to production meetings, to sit under the learning trees of, you know, these incredible men, you know. And it's complicated. It's a lot of things. And Vince wasn't there, but Linda was. And he said, "You are my wife's father, my children's grandfather, you know, and I love you." And I thought that was so classy. It's very well done. Like I said, I apologize if my mascara is down around my eyes. I don't know if this one was waterproof, so. But at this point, I'm going to go get ready for WrestleMania Night 1. And I will see you tomorrow for that when I get back from Diane's house. Have a very happy Easter. God bless you. And please subscribe so you know every time I upload. Thank you for making my Tony Atlas video, my Vader video, hugely successful. It means the world to me. And they would be successful without your views. But please consider subscribing too. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.